In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a non-Xbox 360 gamepad with LabMonster Toolkit. First, make sure you have no gamepads plugged into your computer, no adapters plugged into your computer, and all of your LabMonster Toolkit games that you want to use LabMonster Toolkit with and any emulation controller software are closed. So first, we're going to open up LabMonster Toolkit. Once it's open, you should see two Xbox 360 controllers in your peripherals, and the virtual pads for Player 1 and Player 2 should be on Player 1 and Player 2. If that is not the case, consider rebooting your device and trying again. If it still is not the case, you may have some driver that automatically creates a peripheral that is bound to Player 1, and that might cause issues for you. So after that, what we're going to do is we're going to boot up Xbox 360 controller emulator, X360C. There are other pieces of software that can do the same thing as this. This is the one I like to use. So I'm going to clear the mapping and remove this controller so you can see how I set up the mapping from the start. Now, this device got enabled and disabled, but that's fine. We're going to enable the device. It will create an Xbox 360 controller. And then we're going to plug in our gamepad. So I'm plugging in an Xbox One gamepad, which will show up down here in my device manager as an Xbox One gamepad. And there it is, Xbox One peripheral, Xbox One controller. And I'm going to, in this controller binding, I'm going to add the Xbox One gamepad to the controller. Now, none of your bindings are in. I'm just going to show you a few bindings. I like to record for my bindings, so we're just going to do D-pad up, D-pad left, D-pad right, D-pad down, A, B, X, Y, and I always get confused what buttons on my stick are the bumpers and triggers, but thankfully this layout in the toolkit actually shows you for the right bumper here, it's going to be this button. For the right trigger here, it's going to be this button. And then on the other side, this is the left bumper and left trigger. So now you can see in the toolkit, we have bindings for all of the directions and for the triggers and buttons that are primarily used. You also can bind start, back, L3, and R3. I'm not going to do that for the sake of brevity. The other thing that you can do is if you are using a cross-up or something with an analog input, if you play on a pad and you use an analog input, you can use the axis. I think it's inverted and inverted. It's the inverted half and half axes. If you just use record and press the axis in a direction, you can bind your joystick to the D-pad. We will be supporting joysticks in the future, but because they're not digitized, they're digitized, but because they give a incredibly frequent and detailed signal, and it's not just an on-off signal, they really clog up the input read and make recordings and playback much worse. So rather than dealing with all of that, for right now, on our first release, we're just using the D-pad. So you basically want to go to left thumb, set up your dead zone and everything else so that that works, and then bind it to the D-pad here. And as you can see, now we've got an Xbox 360 controller working with the toolkit. Yeah. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or on the itch.io page. Thank you so much for watching.